My name is Jason Viana. I'm the Executive Director of the Open Door. The Open Door, if you are unfamiliar, we are a food shelf. We're right here in Dakota County. Each and every month we help more than 20,000 people in our community. We do that out of this building here in Eagan, where folks with transportation come. We also have one of the largest mobile food programs in the state of Minnesota. In the suburbs, we make food available in more than 30 locations around our community. So before this shutdown began, we were already helping about 30% more people than we were last year. We have made room for more because we have, with all the relief that's been given to the hunger relief system over the last several years, food shelves like ours are doing remarkable work. We are closer than we've ever been to meeting the need, but this shutdown and reducing benefits that are available to our clients are absolutely a step back that are going to be felt in households across the state of Minnesota. I will tell you that in our footprint, we have heard increased concern, anxiety from our families, and we are seeing more families than we've seen since 2020. If you aren't familiar with the difference in the Open Door, we are a food shelf. We work directly with the community. There are over 500 in the state of Minnesota. Food banks like Second Harvest and the Food Group help support our work directly. This is a time for anyone in our community that cares about our neighbors to take action. I will tell you that we are preparing to announce this week additional distributions to support around 500 extra families every week. Our volunteers, of which we have 80 to 100 a day, are wonderful. They work hard. Our community works hard, but I'm going to tell you, all the work and care of our community is not enough to solve an absolutely solvable crisis. On behalf of the clients and volunteers of the Open Door, I urge our elected representatives, especially at the federal level, come together, be adults, and do your job. These impacts are real. I'm grateful to have the governor here to share his thoughts, and I will turn it over to him now.
Thanks, Jason. Governor? Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. Jason, thank you to everyone here at Open Door. Thank you to Rachel and the Food Group. You're going to hear from Commissioner Brown for Children, Youth, and Family. You're going to hear, there's legislators up here, mayors, and 1,000 volunteers that'll come through here and work at any given time on these shifts to make sure that their neighbors have enough food. It is not a privilege to have food, it's a human right to have food. And in the most abundant food supply of any country on earth in the United States, and us being at the heart of that heartland of food production, it's absolutely unnecessary for people to go hungry. And we have made an effort. We as Minnesotans have made a concerted effort to make sure that food security is a priority, whether it's breakfast and lunch for all of our children, whether it's increasing the child tax credit to make sure they have that, increasing MFIB, and making sure that we're able to deliver it as quickly as possible. The network of folks who work in food security is nothing short of amazing across this state. And be very, very clear, I had some statistics here for you that maybe 9 million visits a year in Minnesota. We have over 440,000 Minnesotans needing SNAP benefits. And just so those folks out there who want to get a Grinchy heart on or something, 38% of them are children and 18% are seniors. And so just to be very clear, this is across every geographic aspect of Minnesota, in fact, disproportionately in greater Minnesota. And these are benefits that allow people to be able to feed their family and go on with their life with that little bit of extra. So I'm here to say thank you to all the people who work on this. I'm here to say thank you for the folks who make this system work. And I'm here along with Jason to encourage folks to get back together. We're here today to announce we're using our contingency accounts to add $4 million to the food banks across Minnesota. This will be a bridge. I want to be very clear. It will not make up and backfill everything that is going to drop off starting on Saturday. We do not have that capacity. But I would say again, we put out about $74 million a month in SNAP benefits, just so you know the scope and the scale of this. Those are Minnesota tax dollars that went to the federal government. Again, one of a handful of states that pays more in than we get back. I want to be very clear. USDA, during this shutdown, has contingency funds that they could release just like us. They are choosing not to. They are choosing not to. And I can paint any damn picture you want for you. They're paying contractors to tear down the East Wing, but they're not putting money into the food bank that they're setting on. So if there's a sense of frustration in America, it's very real. And usually we start to do these things as we get nearer to Thanksgiving and we start to bring it to attention. We don't need a holiday to tell you that food insecurity is real, that the system that we've developed keeps people out of poverty, keeps them out of hunger, improves their quality of life, improves their health, and lets them participate in our society. And when this risk comes, it puts a lot of children, a lot of seniors, and a lot of folks with disabilities at risk by a choice. They are choosing not to fund these programs. They are choosing to prioritize. And when the White House press secretary said the top priority is the ballroom, we could not disagree more. Our top priority is the well-being of the Minnesotans, especially around food security, home heating assistance, and the things that we know Minnesota does really well. So I'm here to say thank you to all these volunteers, to make the note that we're putting this money in that was bridge us, but the solution to this is, one, end the shutdown and go back to work. Two, quit scapegoating people who are hungry and making up stories that are not true, and do your job. Because I'm a little bit irritated, and I'll just say it. When I was in Congress, there was a government shutdown. I donated my check to the Open Door in Rochester. I would make a challenge to some folks. If you're getting paid and folks are going hungry, something's wrong. So end this thing now. Minnesotans know and care. The number of volunteers across this state is nothing short of just inspiring, and I'm just incredibly grateful. So Jason, Open Door, thanks for having us. To the network of folks who make this happen, to the mayors, to the representatives who have funded consistently food programs in Minnesota to make sure that our children have what they need. And we know when you do that, it translates into less truancy, it translates into higher graduation rates, it translates into healthier human beings who are then able to contribute. It just makes sense, especially when you know and you see that food over there. About half the food in this country goes to waste when it's expired. These folks here are making sure that that does not happen and we get it to people. So really grateful. I'm going to turn it over now to the Commissioner of Children, Youth, and Family, Tiki Brown.
Thank you, Governor. All right. Hello, everybody. Tiki Brown, Commissioner for the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. So for many Minnesotans, the $6 a day that they receive in SNAP is the difference between going hungry or just getting by. As you heard today, we know people are incredibly worried about what will happen to their November benefits, and we know how vital these benefits are. We are thankful that Minnesota has invested in our statewide food emergency network, and this infrastructure is what we will lean on to get these $4 million of benefits out to food shelves across the nation. So we have $4 million that will be distributed to the food group. We're incredibly grateful for their partnership. They will distribute these funds to the 300 food shelves across the state. We will utilize the existing Minnesota Food Shelf Funding program that we have, which allows for the buying of nutritious foods and the use of these funding to be used for transportation from the food banks to the food shelves. We will also make sure that we are targeting to SNAP recipients and also attending to the many folks that people are seeing come to the food shelf. So there'll be a $5,000 base for every food shelf and tribal nation across the state, with additional funding that will be added for looking at our SNAP benefits, and then also just looking at the numbers of folks that people are seeing. So the federal shutdown and the we're calling it the Federal Shutdown Emergency Food Support Grant. We'll distribute this as quickly as possible. Our goal is to make sure that these benefits are in people's hands at the food shelf by the 4th, which is when Minnesota's food SNAP and MFID benefits would traditionally go out. So this is our goal, to get the food out as quickly as possible so that it is in the hands of those for the short-term gap for the vital need that is necessary in Minnesota. With that, I'll turn it back to the Governor. Thank you very much.
No, thanks, Jim. And grateful, and I would say that both the nonprofits and to our partners across the state, both religious, non-religious, anybody out there trying to make sure that folks have enough to eat, a huge thank you. We're in this together. Be glad to take some questions.
Governor, how far does $4 million
Yeah, I might have Jason. Yeah.
$4 million helps. Remember that $4 million gets divided up amongst food shelves. So it'll absolutely be enough to help for a small period of time, but it won't make us whole for the impact of this shutdown, especially if it continues to linger.
Governor, how much more does the state get, if the shutdown continues?
Yeah, Tiki, you want to take that one?
What was the question?
How much more could the
State.
state give?
How much more could they give? That's
Tiki,
that's more of a Tiki question. Yeah. Sorry.
So what we've done is we've looked at existing funding that we have and been able to redirect it. So we've taken some resources that we have available, which is $4 million. It's not enough to make up the gap of $73 million of federal funds that the state receives every day. But we continue to work with our partners. We know that folks are hosting food drives or hosting different counties have reached out to say, how can we readjust some of our existing funding? Again, this is a small stopgap for what we know is a really big gap that we have in the state. We did receive information from USDA on Friday and Saturday indicating that any funding that we would put into replacing SNAP benefits would not be reimbursed. So that does really change the calculation for Minnesota, and it does really emphasize the importance of utilizing our food shelves and our food bank system.
That's a really important point. I'm going to bring that up. Not reimbursing us for doing this. It's our money. It's our money they're holding on to in D.C. It's our money that's at USDA. It's our money that people went through the legislature and appropriated it and is being held. And now when we're filling this in, they're not going to reimburse us for you. So just to be very clear this has gone well beyond financial. This is not fiscal. This is a conscious choice to be cruel. And it simply makes no sense. And I think the question is getting at this. Are there other places where we can redirect money and try and get it there? I've asked our team, asked Commissioner Brown to do all she can. But again, this money's not fungible. It's in accounts for a reason. We're managing it the best we can, but it will not be enough. I will say that. It will not be enough.
So the two funding sources that we're using are the Family First Prevention Services Act, and then I'm going to look it up to make sure I'm saying it very closely and carefully, Human Services, the DHS Human Services Fund. So the Human Services Fund was intended to be used for emergency services. It comes from the Department of Human Services. The Department of Children, Youth, and Families has the ability to utilize those funds, so we'll be using that. That's the majority of the funds. And then the rest is from the Family First Prevention Services Act, which is funding that is generally used for the health and safety of children and families. And again, food is such a basic need, and we know that when families have food and their basic needs are met, we have less movement into the child welfare system.
So this is in addition to the $5 billion that was set out in that Office of the Service food ship.
Yes.
How much is left in those two funds after?
So the DHS fund will be completely empty after we move it over, and then the Family First Prevention Services Act does have some additional funding. We receive about $4 million per year from the legislature to pay for a variety of items in that space. Many of that we have focused on an RFP and some work that we're doing with our county and tribal partners.
Governors, offsetting the shutdown, the kind of thing that you look into happening with the rainy day fund for, or is that untouched?
Yeah, it is untouched. It's a little harder, and those obviously for fiscal responsibility purposes, the legislature has dedicated those. I think the one thing is that this idea of where the legislature appropriates, the money is put in, we need to follow that accordingly. This legislature has been really great about making sure there is some fungibility, some flexibility, but probably not the rainy day fund without going back to the legislature, which at some point, how long this continues, it's day 27. Doesn't appear like there's any sense of urgency out of the folks in D.C. As this continues to go on, it will become much more of a crisis. And it may not feel like a crisis to some folks if you're not depending on all these different services, but it will eventually all start to come home. So we'll see how long this goes on, but it would be one where we would go back to our legislative partners and try and get some assistance.
Governor, to that point, what capacity does the state have to help out if this drags on, say, for another month?
Yeah, it becomes harder. The ability of the state, the question to be able to backfill in a shutdown becomes harder and harder because we don't get our reimbursements. And then the decision that you heard Commissioner Brown say is we go ahead and give it. We have to be very cautious about once we spend it, there's no reimbursement coming back from the federal government, because our responsibility to balance the budget and be accountable for that. So the states can do, and Minnesota, as I think we all know, probably the most generous of the states, we've got some ability to protect our people. But I think some of you saw it today, the LIHEAP, the heating assistance, doesn't apply to propane users, doesn't apply for some of our heating oil users. So those folks are going to be left out there with no heating assistance coming, and they're not protected by the no shutoff rule. So we're concerned about that, trying to figure it out. But I think the biggest thing is we have a federal system that we're all in it together, that we help other states when they need it, but we have a situation where they are trying to divide us amongst ourselves. They're trying to provide specific aid to states that they like at the moment, which is absolutely unconscionable. We would, and the state of Minnesota would do whatever we could to help folks, whether they're in Texas or whether they're in Iowa or whether they're in Massachusetts. States being left on their own is an untenable situation. We either that or give us our money back. Give us our federal money back and we'll deal with it.
Is there a point in this shutdown?
Congress to get back to work.
Yes.
Does that include Democrats, and do you think it's time for them to compromise to reopen their government?
Republicans have the presidency, Republicans have the Senate, and Republicans have the House of Representatives. President Trump has said if there's ever a shutdown, it belongs to the president. So no, I'm not going to take the frame on this. The Democrats are there making sure when they open up, they don't give tax cuts to the wealthiest or build a damn ballroom, that they don't cut the subsidies, the enhanced subsidies to the ACA, that you already saw what would happen to a family making $80,000 a year. So the responsibility is amongst the Republicans to recognize that the American people are not with them on this issue. They're not with them on the cuts. And Democrats have said all along, we would be glad to come back, but you need to make sure you're protecting the subsidies around the ACA, because that's where the vast majority of Americans want. So this is not a both sidesism. This is owned by the Republicans. It is owned by their ability to want to have anything their way. They've got a president that is pulling money back that was appropriated by the legislature, which these legislators, I know, I'm glad they are, would be horrified by that idea, giving up their authority as an independent branch. So I know Democrats are ready to go. I know they're ready to come back and do this. They're ready to come back and protect things that had passed the legislature. They are not willing to come back and let an authoritarian president do whatever he wants. The people are going to be lined up out here to get food, and we're talking about a damn ballroom. Don't lose the plot. Don't lose the plot of what's going on here.
Is there a point in this shutdown?
Sure.
Is there a point in this shutdown where you would call a special session of the legislature to deal with the impacts that are happening in Minnesota right now?
Well, and we said that early last year, that if that happened or if things came to that or what was going to happen because of the tariffs, I think it's always a possibility, but I think all of us are witnessing on something that is overwhelmingly supported by the public. We can't get the Republican legislators to agree to come back and have an honest debate around gun violence. So I think this one would be even more difficult maybe to have them come back and have a debate about a federal government that has left states short and we need to do some help. But I think you have to leave it open, because I am deeply concerned that the most vulnerable amongst us, as it always is, are going to feel this first. And they're going to feel it starting Saturday.
Governor, how long do you think Democrats should hold on to that ACA?
As long as it takes, because the public's not with them. The public's not with the Republicans on this. They created this. This is a totally man-made catastrophe. And to give in now, so we have a shutdown, we lose all our funding, and we had a 56% increase to people's health care because they decided this. I remind everyone, it was on that escalator in 2015 that Donald Trump said health care is easy and I will fix it on day one. Where's the plan? Where's the plan? You know where the plan is? It's the ACA that brought down costs for people, that got rid of pre-existing condition barriers, that made sure our children had access to mental health care, all of the things necessary. So This is one you can't lose. You have to push back on it, or we lose all of the gains that we've made as a country.
What about how did the state kind of get the decline in sexual assault allegations that Minnesota prisons last year in a recent DOC report?
I am not familiar with the report right now. I've not gone through it. We'll check with you on it. Yes?
Can you respond to Noam's visit and kind of her alleging that you've been non-cooperative?
Well, that's untrue. I have sat in front of Congress for 8 hours and said that. I do not run ICE. She does, on her private jets. I see ads for $50,000 in student loan forgiveness if you'll join ICE. We're looking for teachers and nurses. We're looking for folks that would like to run a food bank and things. So everything coming out of DHS right now is about theatrics. It's about a media hit or whatever. My guess is she's probably here on personal business and used it as a way to pay for it by having a press conference that had absolutely nothing factual and nothing new. So we'll continue to follow the federal laws. We always have. We will continue to do what's required of the state. And we would ask our federal partners, quit terrorizing people and do your job. No one's saying that you shouldn't go after criminals, but why are you standing in line arresting moms trying to pick up their kids from school as they're waiting for their immigration hearings to go through the proper channels? So just a distraction, more of the same. Again, somebody got intrepid journalists here. Really? Why would you come? Why did you go? How much did it cost to come here and do that little press conference? And where were you staying when you were here? There's a little work to be done.
We'll wrap it there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Sure.
Given the extensive fraud that Minnesota is dealing with, I'm wondering if the state is taking any additional steps to ensure that this money is not
We absolutely are. And I said, I think of the numerous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of programs that we run in the state of Minnesota. I remind folks, Minnesota's AAA bond rated and was acknowledged for having fiscal responsibility. We do know that we've got criminals. We do know that we have crime, and these programs have the safeguards into it. It's why you didn't see it around unemployment insurance, around the SNAP program and things like that, that this issue appears, and I think we're on a pretty good track to this, is a pretty narrow set of programs that were set up, especially post-COVID, to try and help people. And of course they're set up to be as easy as possible for people to navigate, but that also meant it was easy as possible for some folks to be able to take advantage of it. So these folks are solid. I think the things we're putting in place, we'll make some more announcements this week around making sure that, again, that fraud undermines people's faith in systems just like this, and our food banks and our SNAP programs are incredibly secure. Working with federal partners, working with counties, we need to make sure that's the case. So it's a great question. It's one we feel very strongly about, and I think what you'll see is this will get out. So,
All right, thanks, everyone.
so thank you all.